Imagine you've practiced Buddhism for 10 years. You've chanted, you've meditated, you've bowed to the Buddha every single morning. And then someone walks up to you and says, according to the Buddha himself, you still don't really know what the Buddha is. Would that make you angry, confused, or a little curious? Here's what the Samyukta Agama, one of the oldest Buddhist scriptures, actually says. Only those who have reached the first fruit of awakening can develop an unshakable understanding of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Everyone else, their understanding can still be broken. And that includes people who have spent their entire lives in a monastery. So today we're going to ask a question that sounds almost embarrassingly simple. What are the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha really? Words are slippier than you think. The Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha are called the three jewels of Buddhism. Most people assume they know what these mean. A teacher, a teaching, a community. Simple enough, right? But here's where it gets interesting. A Chinese Buddhist scholar named Lu Zhenguan, who spent decades studying the earliest scriptures, noticed something that almost everyone misses. The reason people can't develop stable faith in the three jewels isn't a lack of devotion. It's that they never precisely defined what those words mean. And he used an unusual example to make this point. He said, I'm going to say my own name twice. Lu Zhenguan. Lu Zhenguan. Are those two names referring to the same thing? Most people say, obviously, yes. But think carefully. A person is made up of constantly changing matter, sensations, thoughts, impulses, and consciousness, what Buddhism calls the five aggregates. The first time he said his name, it pointed to the version of himself existing at that exact moment. The second time, a few seconds had passed. In those seconds, cells had died and renewed. Electrical impulses had fired. Blood had moved. Was it really the same person? He wasn't playing games. He was making a point that cuts to the heart of Buddhist philosophy. Phenomena are impermanent, and the meanings attached to words are impermanent too. To drive this home, he gave a darker example. Imagine a doctor in a hospital calling out a patient's name. The first call, the patient answers. The second call, they're already gone. Same word, completely different reality. Now here's a question that seems like a riddle, but isn't. Which came first, the Buddha or the Dharma? Three camps of answers typically emerge. Camp 1 says, the Buddha came first. Without a teacher, there's no teaching. Camp 2 says, the Dharma came first. Truth exists whether or not anyone discovers it. Camp 3 says, neither, they're simultaneous and inseparable. Here's the thing. All three answers are correct. Not because the question has no answer, but because all three people are using the word Dharma to mean completely different things. This is the trap. And once you see it, you'll never read a Buddhist debate the same way again. Three meanings of Dharma. Meaning 1, Dharma as doctrine. If Dharma means the teachings, the sermons, the scriptures, the explanations, then obviously the Buddha came first. No teacher, no teaching. A book doesn't write itself. This is the everyday understanding. And it's not wrong. It's just shallow. Meaning 2, Dharma as the nature of reality. This is how most ancient scriptures actually use the word. Dharma, in this sense, means the way things are, the structure of cause and effect, the fact of impermanence, the laws that govern existence. Does that need a Buddha to exist? No. The Dharma in this sense is like gravity. It was operating long before Newton named it, long before any human walked the earth. And so, many scriptures say plainly, whether or not a Buddha appears in the world, the Dharma remains. In this sense, the Dharma came first. The Buddha discovers it, he doesn't invent it. Meaning 3, Dharma as the eighth consciousness. This one requires some explanation. The Mahaparinirvana Sutra teaches that the true Buddha is not a human body, not a man who lived and died in ancient India. The true Buddha is what's called the eighth consciousness, a foundational awareness that underlies and generates all experience. It doesn't arise, it doesn't cease. It simply is. And here's where it gets profound. If the true Buddha is the eighth consciousness, and the Dharma points to the same eighth consciousness, and the Sangha also ultimately refers to this same ground of being, then Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha are not three separate things. They're three words pointing at the same thing, which means they don't come in any order. They're simultaneous. They're one. The ancient phrase for this is, the three realms are mind only. The 10,000 dharmas are consciousness only. Now let's look at the word Buddha itself, because it's even more layered than Dharma. Most people picture the Buddha as a historical figure, a man who sat under a Bodhi tree, became enlightened, and taught for 45 years before dying peacefully at 80. That's not wrong, but it's only one kind of Buddha. The tradition describes three: the transformation body, the historical Buddha, Shakyamuni, born, lived, died. This is the Buddha most people know. The reward body, the Buddha of accumulated merit. If you've ever heard that the Buddha lived for thousands of cosmic eons before his earthly appearance, this is that Buddha. He is said to still be teaching right now in a realm called the heaven of dense adornment. The Dharma body, the true Buddha, the eighth consciousness itself. It has no birth, no death, no lifespan to measure. Here's the striking implication. When Buddhist texts say things like, through the Buddha's power, the Bodhisattva rose from his seat, they don't mean the historical Buddha reached across time and pushed someone to stand up. They mean the eighth consciousness, present in every being, sustaining every moment of experience, was the actual force that allowed that movement to happen. You standing up right now? According to this teaching, through the Buddha's power. You reading these words? Same. The Dharma body Buddha is not someone distant and holy. It's the most intimate thing there is. It's what makes experience possible at all. Finally, the Sangha. This one surprises people most. Most practitioners think the Sangha is the monastic community, the monks and nuns, the people in robes. But the scriptures are more precise and more radical than that. First, the Sangha is not an individual. In Sanskrit, the word for Sangha is grammatically plural. It refers to a community, not a single person. You cannot take refuge in a single monk any more than you can take refuge in a single drop of water and call it the ocean. Second, the Sangha is not limited to ordained people. The scriptures define the true Sangha as all awakened beings, those who have verified the path through direct experience, regardless of whether they wear robes. Here's a story that illustrates this perfectly. The Chinese pilgrim Xuanzang, the monk who traveled to India for 17 years to retrieve Buddhist scriptures, records an account of a monk who was taken by an enlightened master to visit Maitreya, the future Buddha, in the Tusita heaven. When they arrived, the monk saw that Maitreya appeared as a layperson, wearing ornaments with long hair. So the monk only bowed his head slightly. He didn't prostrate. The master later asked, "Why didn't you fully bow to an equal enlightenment bodhisattva?" The monk said, "Because a monk cannot prostrate before a layperson." He went back 3 times. He refused to bow all 3 times. Eventually, the master gave up and stopped taking him. The monk's mistake? He had confused the costume for the content. The true Sangha, the community you take refuge in, is not defined by haircuts or robes. It's defined by realization. And it extends across all worlds, all times, all beings who have awakened. You can't break it. You can't vote someone out of it. It is, in a sense, indestructible. So, what are the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha? The answer depends entirely on what you mean by those words. If you mean the historical teacher, the spoken teachings, and the monastic community, you've got one set of answers. If you mean an underlying consciousness, the nature of reality, and all awakened beings across all worlds, you've got something far stranger and far larger. The reason most people's faith in the three jewels can be shaken, according to the oldest texts, isn't weakness of character. It's that they're placing faith in the smaller picture when the bigger one is right there, waiting. Next, we'll look at something even more fundamental. If the eighth consciousness generates all of existence, every thought, every sensation, every universe, what does that actually mean? And what does it have to do with you?